All right, welcome. Thank you all for joining us for our third installment in our Operation Recovery virtual chat series. I'm Rachel with Event Marketer, coming to you live from my kitchen in Connecticut. So we created our Operation Recovery chats to bring together voices and faces from across every corner of the industry to share what they know, what they're seeing and doing, what they're trying and thinking about, and to offer some perspective on what we all can do to help our organizations get back on their feet. So I am pleased to have two industry leaders with us today. First, I'd like to introduce Julie Hogan, Global Face-to-Face Marketing Director at Facebook. Hi, Julie.
Hello. Thank you for having me, Rachel.
Thanks for being here. And a big welcome to Josh McCall, Chairman and CEO at Jack Morton Worldwide. Hi, Josh.
Hi, Rachel. Good to be with you.
Thanks for being here. So let's start, as we do every week, with some perspective from each of you on what's going on in your organizations. Julie, we'll start with you. Give us a snapshot of what the last 6 weeks, and I can't believe it's been 6 weeks, have looked like for your team. Talk about the decisions you all have had to make, and really the current status of your event portfolio.
Yeah, so thank you, Rachel. Again, very excited to be here, and just want to do a PSA, making sure everyone out there in our industry is doing well and staying safe and healthy. The last 6 weeks have been really interesting for all of us within the industry, but particularly at Facebook. At the company level, I would say we're really focused right now on keeping people safe. So focused on taking down harmful misinformation, making sure that people have access to accurate information. We're, as a company, very, very, very focused on, bringing people together. And certainly from an event perspective, that is something that is changing pretty rapidly right now, as we all know. And so coming up with really innovative ways in which we can do that, and leaning into our great agency partners and people within the industry is a core area of focus for us right now. The other thing I would say is that what we're seeing, and we support this on the event and experiential side as well, is just the economic impact that is happening right now around the world. And so we're also very focused on giving small businesses in particular access to grants and really trying experientially to create experiences in which they can access this information, become educated about how we can help, and how the platform itself can really work for them during this time. So holistically at a company level, that's how we're focused, but also more broadly experientially as well. So. Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Yeah. And Josh, from an agency perspective, and from what you're hearing from clients, tell me about the conversations you've been having this past month and what your company's overall focus is on.
Well, I echo Julie's good wishes for everybody in our industry and community at large. It's obviously been a jarring time for so many. Both on the brand and the agency side, in dealing with the sudden changes that have come upon all of us, and many well-laid plans and programs that were scheduled to be in place that have now been canceled, postponed, or transitioned into other formats. Our agency really started to see this in the early days of it in Asia Pacific because of our operations that we have in that part of the world. And so we've really been dealing with this since January. And the good news is our folks in Asia are back in the office, excited about programs that we're kickstarting and back in action with, which is gives us all hope for where we can be going in the hopefully not too distant future in the rest of our world. In terms of client conversations, they really began with a lot of, oh my gosh, we can't do what we were planning to do. So help us figure out how we reschedule and replan and communicate effectively to the audiences that we were hoping to bring together. Obviously, a lot of focus on what was initially a form of hybrid events when we could still gather small communities of people and executives together. And then really a transition to truly virtual programs, and now just beginning now to replan and position ourselves with our client community on moving back to the hybrid kind of programs as safety and the world starts to reopen again.
Mm. Yeah, I want to quickly touch on that because this week we've all, read headlines about some states preparing to reopen or at least work on reopening plans. How much confidence do you put in that kind of news and what that means for events coming back? Are you, is that something that you're taking into account right now, or is it a 6-month waiting period still? Are we still a little bit too far out to know what to do next?
Yeah,
Josh, if you want to. Oh, Julie, Go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to say, go for it. I'm happy to jump in, but Josh, go for it.
Well, back to Asia as an indicator. A great example is the Beijing Auto Show was originally to take place in April, and it has now been rescheduled for the end of September. So if you take that as an indicator, it's kind of a 5 to almost 6 month lag time. And if we position ourselves out from September, that would put us in the early part of the second quarter of next year in the rest of the world, where the indication would be that we'd be comfortable reconvening large audiences of people together in some, again, safe format, both safe in terms of the sponsoring organization and safe in terms of a feeling of safety for the attendees. And so that would be my hope, that we'd be in a position in the early part of the second quarter next year where things would really reignite. With that said, that obviously means that a lot of planning has to start to take place as we get into our third and fourth quarters and the first quarter of next year to be in a position to be back up and running then.
Yeah.
And
Julie?
Yeah, I would say it's probably no surprise, as you were referring to headlines, Rachel, that at Facebook, we actually postponed all of our in-person experiences until June of 2021 next year. And so the health and safety of not only our teams, but also for the rest of the world, as we know, social distancing will likely still be in place. And there's just going to be a very different approach to how we look at experiences over the next year. And so for us, being able to make that call right now ahead of time to say, listen, we know that given our Asia Pacific team, to Josh's point, while that business is picking up and they are starting to come out of this a little bit sooner, we're still seeing lag times of anywhere between 8 to 12 months. And so for us as a company, to be able to say, listen, we're making a commitment to really reinvent how we create connection and build community in a very different way until it becomes safe for people to gather in large numbers is a huge priority for us. And so making that call ahead of time and allowing our teams to be able to focus on what's in front of us in terms of creating virtual experiences right now is our top priority. And so that I have found has been a real blessing to be able to be very definitive about that approach and allow our teams to be able to focus on what's in front of us and how can we lean into an industry right now that really needs us and is expecting us to bring them together and build these communities. That's what we want to be focused on. So that's where our heads are at right now across the company.
Yeah, I want to get into the event of the future in a moment, but let's talk about virtual experiences. That's something in the pivot that everyone is trying to make right now. So Julie, just building off of that, what are some of the things that you're looking at in terms of building an event in the virtual space? Any kind of pain points that you're identifying? Obviously, Facebook being a digital platform has played in this space for a long time, but what's on your mind?
Yeah, it's such a great question. It's very timely given everything that all of us are experiencing right now. And I have the good fortune to have a wonderful partnership with Josh and his team at Jack Morton. And I will share just before a lot of the shelter-in-place rules went into effect here in the US, we were grappling with an internal event, a very large global internal event that we produce at Facebook annually. We were grappling with whether or not to host that in March. And in early February, we made the decision to pivot and to bring this experience to life virtually. And the task was not to do that was not small, and it was a process. And in evaluating what it would take to bring thousands of people together from across the globe and do that in a way that's really interactive, that's very engaging, and that's really purposeful, was something that took a lot of ideating on. And while we are a digital platform and our business is, bringing people together and creating community, it was really something that we had to pivot pretty quickly on. And so what that experience entailed was essentially utilizing one of our platforms, Workplace, which is actually a great tool that organizations use across the globe to create communication and interactivity within organizations. We use that across Facebook. And so we used that platform to bring the entire experience to life through the awesome partnership that we also have with Jack Morton. So reimagining different sessions, pre-recording those, having some of them be live, incorporating different entertainment moments, and really using the social platforms such as Instagram and Messenger to be able to create additional interactivity was something that we were able to turn around pretty quickly. And so I say that humbly because this is an industry, and in particular my team globally, who's very used to creating experiences that are in person. And so what we have learned from this process is that the skill sets and the core of what we do as event marketers has not changed. So we are still there to create connections and to build community within our industry. The way in which we do that has simply shifted. And it takes moments like these to really remind you that the core of what we do and the essence of what we do is really still there. The way in which we bring that to life has simply pivoted. And there's no better industry, in my humble opinion, that is better suited to tackle this than our industry. And when you have great agency partners, and in our case, the Jack team, really the possibilities are endless. And it's scary. It is difficult. It's complex. But the end result can be amazing. And if as an industry we're committed to that, then I think we'll be just fine.
Mm. And Josh, can you talk about the pivot? Digital events did have a heyday at a time in this industry, and we saw, as you mentioned before, we've seen that the hybrid approach over the years. But do you see digital events playing a larger role in the future? And what are your teams kind of talking about in terms of how to execute them today?
Well, first of all, Julie, thank you for such kind words, and know how much that means to me and our team to hear you speak so kindly about our partnership. It is really, really wonderful to hear, and know how grateful we are for that partnership and all of what we have been able to do together over the last several weeks to, as you say, deliver extraordinary in a different way. And one of our values at Jack Morton is agility. And it obviously takes a whole lot of agility to be in this industry and in this business that we're in. And I think this time has never tested our agility as much as it currently is. And clearly, we love live. There is nothing. It's really what inspired so many of us to be in this industry, to be in this business, to see the reaction of the audiences when we create extraordinary presentations and content and new and different ways, and bring people together and convene them around mission objectives, new products, and other topics that we have done for so long. And just as Julie says, this has been a forcing function to do it in a different way and to exercise some different muscles. But in essence, we're in great shape to do it. And the challenge, the creativity, the storytelling is all there. The essence of what it takes to build the experience are there. We're just using some different tools and different ways to get the messages across. And the exciting thing about it for me is I think it will help to propel this industry forward, to enhance our capability and value in the mix of marketing services, because we have proven over the last number of years in particular that we are a very valuable part of the mix of marketing services. And our ability to create community, to inspire audiences, to really drive business forward and generate meaningful results for brands through our category of services is alive and well. And virtual, hybrid, digital experiences will continue to be part of our future. And this is really a forcing function for us to really exercise new muscles that will be part of us as we move forward.
Yeah. So when we look at 2021, and if we're being hopeful, late 2020, what are some of the things that your teams are talking about in terms of what these events will look like? Julie, if you want to start.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think, the experiential as we knew it is no longer. And I think there's also, by the way, a grieving process, in my opinion, that goes along with that, that I know our team has experienced over the last few weeks. And so I think acknowledging that the way in which we created events and experiences has transitioned. We're now sort of at an inflection point, and we have an opportunity to embrace that and to really, to Josh's point, exercise these new muscles and really explore new ground. Or we can continue to hope that what was will come back in 2021. And so, as I alluded to earlier, I think one of the great things that we're talking about internally and on my team, specifically at Facebook, is just the opportunity to not have to worry about what we're doing for the next year. We know in terms of in-person events, we know that that's not happening. So we have made the pivot to virtual. We are very eager to explore and listen and partner around all the greatest technology that's out there, that exists within our own platforms at Facebook and within our Facebook family, but also outside of that. We are really eager to work with folks around the industry to partner on a lot of the experiences, to figure out the best ways to engage. And we've really sort of broken it down into three focus areas. We're focused on the people and the audiences in which we're talking to. We're focused on the presence of who and how we're bringing everybody together and what that interactivity represents. And then we're also focused on the purpose. So I think, I'm talking about a lot of the positive things that are happening right now around virtual. I think it's also appropriate to acknowledge some of the challenges, which are we're all working remotely. We are juggling personal time, professional time, and trying to integrate that as best we can. And so when we're setting out to create experiences as a company now, we're thinking through all of these other things that people have in front of them that they need to juggle. And so being really purposeful about what we want to communicate, how we want to do that, how we want to inspire people, which also is a great point that Josh brought up. People need that right now. And so we're also competing with a ton of content that the world is actually delivering right now. And so being able to say, we're going out with this message, we want to do it for these reasons, and we want you to be part of this community and connect with us, is our North Star. And I think, using that philosophy under people, presence, and purpose, as we move forward in everything that we do, will really help us prioritize these experiences. And the goal is to make them, extraordinary. And you can't do that if you're putting out too many. And so for us, being able to focus on that for the next year, that being virtual, and doing this in a really thoughtful and purposeful way, is something that you will see play out over the next 12 months.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, to pick up on that, just on purpose, I think that the words that we use around the focus of, the pillars of a virtual experience are immersive, responsive, curated, and connected. Mm-hmm. Immersive, responsive, curated, and connected. And if we really look at those 4 words and use them as pillars around which we're designing the experience, that's helping us to deliver on the purpose. And I agree with Julie that the amount of digital fatigue that can exist today is real. And the notion that you can just simply take all the content that you were going to deliver to a captive live audience in a captive environment or experience is part of these new muscles that need to be exercised, because it is a different environment, a different world, a different medium, and but focusing on the purpose and really focusing on those 4 words is what we're doing.
Mm. Yeah. Let's shift for a moment and just talk about remote work, another popular topic, and how you keep the momentum going within your company and teams. How do you keep that productivity high? How do you keep the creative ideas flowing? Because it can kind of feel a little stifling, just given what everybody's juggling. So, Julie, what do you guys talk about on your team in terms of that?
Yeah, it's such a great question. We have, so our team is global, which inherently has challenges just because of different time zones and things like that. So we connect often, we connect with purpose, and we also connect with empathy for one another. So I have a saying right now that everybody gets a pass. And what that means is that we're all juggling so much, and this is such an unprecedented time, that, to be able to show up perfectly every day is just unrealistic. And so for us as a team, knowing that that this is new for everyone and that we're all in this together and figuring it out is really, really critical. As a team, we connect multiple times throughout the week, just very tactically. I think FaceTime right now is so important, which is very ironic given the topic at hand. And so we use Workplace, which is, again, our tool for businesses that allows us to connect and share across the globe. So we do all of our all hands meetings through Workplace. I do live Q&As throughout the week. We also, on the fun and relaxation side, a lot of virtual happy hours or virtual connects. We also have groups for those on the team who are parents, who are like myself, juggling homeschooling 2 kids, in addition to working. And so in terms of just keeping the morale up and the momentum, those are some of the things that we're doing internally. I would say creatively and from a strategic perspective, what we've done is naturally we are pivoting. And so what does that mean from a marketing perspective in terms of channels? Now that we're going virtual, how can our experiences be further amplified or leveraged to keep people connected so that after the virtual experience, it doesn't end right there? And so we're spending a lot of time creatively looking at organic ways in which we connect as a team and how that can be applied across our experiences and more broadly our industry, because we're sharing a lot of this work out with our partners as well. And so one of the first things we did that was released last week was put together an external playbook, which is available on our website at Facebook Business. And essentially it entails all of our learnings over the last couple of weeks and the advice that we are giving to clients and partners who are in the same boat and really struggling with the same things. And so really leaning into some of that work, being good partners, and then also pushing ourselves creatively are just some of the ways in which we're tackling that right now. So,
Josh, what's a mantra that that is alive and well at Jack right now?
Well, the mantra that we always live by is do something extraordinary, and so that continues to be our my challenge to all of our teams, and also my challenge to our client community to let us do something extraordinary. And so we live on through that in this time. And the exciting thing to acknowledge or for me to speak about is, we're an agency with 17 offices around the globe and all in many different time zones. And what I'm so proud to see in this time is how everyone is supporting one another across geographies and time zones more so than they've ever done before. And it is symbolic of everybody's desire to do all they can to be supportive in this difficult time. And I couldn't be more proud how the Jack Morton family has pulled together, just as we all in our own families are pulling together and doing all we can to support one another. Many of the same things that Julie talked about in terms of, regular check-ins. I'm on with my leadership team from around the world twice a week. Every office is holding weekly staff meetings and gatherings of their teams through platforms that we have. And I just this week have already checked in on 3 of those. I've had the pleasure of checking in with our London, San Francisco, and Boston teams on popping into their virtual staff meetings, which has been a great way for me to connect and hear about what's happening at the local level, as well as sharing not only what I'm doing across the agency, but also, my personal journey through this experience, which is real to everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the comeback, and however form that it is, we talk a lot about how after 2008, events did come back stronger and smarter. How is the impact of this pandemic on the event industry different from that time? And how will that recovery, be different, and will it be longer? And how can the event industry prove its relevance and importance in the wake of what's going on?
Yeah.
Julie, you want to?
Sure. Yeah, I'm happy to. I think as it relates to 2008, I think while similar in terms of the economic impact in the recession, we're certainly seeing that. Where this is vastly different from 2008 is that we in that we are dealing with a global health crisis. And so, as we look at the impact that is going to have on a core area of our industry in terms of bringing people together in a face-to-face capacity, that is going to continue to impact what we do going forward. I talked a little bit earlier about how we expect social distancing to still be in place. And so I think as we look forward, knowing that it's never going to go back to exactly what it was, I think it's going to actually be something better. I think it'll be a hybrid. I think it will, to Josh's point, it's really pushing us to think differently and to act differently and to bring people together differently. And so I think we're going to start to see a lot more of that as the restrictions on gatherings continue to be lifted in certain regions and in certain capacities. Right now, or in a couple of weeks, I think we will go back to, experiences under 50 people. We'll start to see those come back a little bit, but people are still going to be very anxious. And I think as an industry and how we bring people together and doing that in a way that, could be in multiple groups versus like one big, large gathering, or taking sort of a phased approach that builds up to, a bigger virtual community, or that's part of a virtual community, could be another way of looking at that. And so I think that is the type of impact that we're going to see, being open to that hybrid and really accepting the fact that it's up to us as an industry to help redefine how we bring people together is something that's really, really critical. It's also a great opportunity for this industry to shine, as we always do. And, I'm a huge believer. I come from an Italian family. And so Sunday dinners were always at the core of our family and being together. And that is something that inherently is what people want. And so it's up to us to deliver that, but to work within those parameters over the next year to do it in a really healthy and safe way, but also get people excited about what's to come. And so I think it'll be a hybrid of in-person and virtual. And I think the best parts of virtual will continue to exist long after, social distancing is a thing of the past. And that'll be a good thing, because it's how people are connecting. And if there's a silver lining to all of this, it's that we all have more time together now with our families, with our friends, with our loved ones. And so how can we take the best of what we're experiencing right now and continue that as we bring back experiences in the coming years? So. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'll pick up on that, Julie, because one of the things that I've shared and am talking a lot about is how used to these platforms we are getting for communication, and how we all just recently celebrated Passover or Easter in a new and different way with families, when we couldn't all be around the dinner table the way we might have the way we have traditionally been. And I think that's symbolic of what you're talking about, Julie, and that this will continue. We will continue to. It was my birthday the other day, and I had a virtual birthday celebration with my colleagues, with at 5:30 last Friday, at 6:30 with a bunch of friends, and at 9:30 with my family.
I love it.
And that wouldn't have happened in a previous, if this were not the way we are living right now. But that will continue to happen moving forward. But it will not completely replace us all being around the dinner table for special occasions. And I think that's symbolic of all of what we're talking about here, about what the future for our industry, for our category of services, that this is teaching us all how to do things in a different way. We will hold on to the best of the past, but we will do new things in a different way in the future.
Yeah. Well said. And happy birthday, Josh.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's a long party. That's a late night.
I was exhausted the next day, admittedly.
Virtual happy hour at its finest.
Yeah,
I love it.
Everybody got their toast or their roast in too. So
that's great. That's great.
So speaking about, marketers who are kind of in the midst of the pivot, what questions should, the event teams be asking themselves? What are some short-term strategies that they can kind of tackle to get moving here? And just some items on your checklist that you've had that to kind of get things rolling in this new world. Yeah.
I'll jump in on that.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. I think the questions to be asked are a lot about scenario planning. I think that there's an element of looking at what we were planning to do, and how can we create what are the new and different scenarios that we can come up with as alternatives as we move forward through and into through the balance of this year and into the future. And in addition to that, really focusing on value, because it is imperative that in all that we do in marketing, and particularly in our category of marketing, that we're focused on the return on the investment, the value of what we're doing, and the creation of events, experiences that deliver meaningful business results. And so asking ourselves about what are the alternatives, what are the different scenarios, with a real focus on value and results is my answer to that question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say the same thing. I mean, scenario planning is definitely something that we're going through right now as well. I will also say the one of the things that we are doing as a team, as a company, is really focused on skills and capabilities. So really, as event marketers, it's rare that we ever have any type of free time to really explore and stay ahead of, the latest and greatest technology. And so being able to empower folks to continue to enhance their skill sets and really explore different experiences that we're seeing within the industry, and how other folks are bringing stuff to life is kind of a cool opportunity right now. So I would say, as we're scenario planning, we're also looking at we want people to take the time to continue to learn. And I think there's a humble approach in terms of recognizing that this is new for all of us. We don't have the answers to everything. And while we're doing things the way we think we should be doing them, and using the technology that's available and working with great partners in order to bring stuff to life, we're still learning too. And there's an opportunity to be able to say, you know what, I'd love to experience X, Y, and Z, or see what so-and-so is doing on their platform. Jimmy Fallon's a great example, in how he is producing the show from his home, and just the innovative and creative ways in which he's doing that are really authentic. And so learning from things like that, and various experiences that we're seeing across all of the different social platforms is kind of cool. And so allowing folks to be able to take the time to do that, I think is a great opportunity. But more strategically, looking at the different scenarios in which we can bring some of our key moments to life is also obviously something that we're doing in parallel.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of Jimmy Fallon, can you talk about some good ideas that you're seeing out there, yours or others?
Sure. I would say, I mean, most recently, again, our partnership with the Jack Morton team was pretty extraordinary. And one of the really innovative ways in which we brought our big internal event to life globally for thousands of people. And I use that number not to emphasize the number of people who were on it, but the complexity and the varied opinions that come with multiple people internally attending an event. And what we were able to do was just incredibly innovative in creating a TV network, an internal TV network within the company to bring various TV shows that we created to life. And we did that with a mixture of a lot of great interactivity on our own platforms. So mixing inspirational speakers who were participating in the in-person event and now shifting that to this pre-recorded virtual experience was something that was completely new to us. And so being able to have the permission to do something like that, but also exploring innovative ways to keep people engaged was pretty cool. And so I think looking at pre-recorded content versus live content, looking at ways in which you can integrate social activity into an experience was really successful for us. And then also giving people a forum to cultivate that community is really key for us internally. Again, that's our workplace group, which has thousands of people in it. And in there, people are sharing, how they consumed. We referred to this event as the Unsummit. And so we had we had various hashtags and things that we did to involve, people on our teams who were in Wuhan, who had been at home at that point for 6 weeks. And so this social group that we created became this really interactive community where people were sharing how touched they were by the content. And the content also rolled out in a phased timeline. And so that was really critical because it gave people the opportunity to digest all of this content, at their leisure and be able to share what was inspirational to them. And so that for us worked really, really, really well. We're now looking at, scaling certain parts of it and what will work with specific audiences, because again, this was internal, but that's just one of the ways in which we're learning as a team and as a company that we're having a lot of fun doing. So I think that's the exciting part for us. Mm.
Yeah. Brands becoming broadcasters is kind of an interesting, development really,
Yeah.
So Josh.
Well, as Julie said, the Unsummit is a great example of innovation and partnership and something that has been now set up to be leveraged and amplified and extended, which is really neat. Beyond that, I think that things I've seen, I'm sure many of us watched the One World Together at Home concerts on Saturday night and particularly chuckled at the Rolling Stones performance and enjoyed all three of the Late Show hosts together as part of that, which was really neat to see. I think, there are lessons to be learned from the entertainment world, Saturday Night Live, as well as what Julie talked about what Jimmy Fallon's doing. I hats off. I was particularly keen to see what NASCAR did with their eNASCAR and iRacing, which is drawing a lot of eyeballs and it's testimony to what you could do with virtual reality, structured reality, and celebrity and sport all coming together to capture a huge audience of people at a time where people are so thirsty and for for live sport, which we all miss so much today. And so, I think that, the world is a creative place, and there is creativity, passion, and inspiration happening all around us every day through these challenging times. And we can take and learn from that and apply it in ways that will be beneficial to getting our messages across in a compelling and interesting way.
Excellent. So I want to get a few closing thoughts from you both, and I'm going to keep it light. So when events are back up and running in whatever form they take, live events, what will be the one thing that you look forward to the most?
I think for me, it'll be the energy from that you get from connecting with people within, any type of community. But I think that will be something that will be very welcomed on our end.
Josh?
Yeah, I echo that. I think it's the opportunity for all the enormous talents and resources that it takes to put live events together and seeing them back in action. There is a hard side to this that I would be remiss not to mention and underscore. Of there are a whole lot of people who are impacted by this time in our industry. That certainly, when you look simply at the hospitality end of the spectrum, to all of the technical, audiovisual, sound, light, staging resources who are so vital to the flawless execution of so many of these programs, to the talents and resources of mine and so many agencies that are out there that are being severely impacted by these times. And so I want to acknowledge the enormous appreciation that I have for that audience of people far and wide, high and low, who do so much to make this industry happen. And what I look forward to most is seeing them all back in action and back at work.
Yeah. This is an industry that has each other's back for sure. So, so that's actually, we flew through time. That's all we have today. I just want to thank Julie and Josh for giving us your time. I know you're out, saving the business world and working hard, and I appreciate you taking the time to support the community in this way. Huge thanks to all of you who are joining us, and a special shout out to my 2-year-old for resisting the urge to create a viral moment here today. So I just want to remind those of you who are watching that we are taking questions each week. If you tweet at Event Marketer with hashtag EM Operation Recovery, we'll take those questions and work them into next week's chat. So until then, take care, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Julie. Good to be with you.
Thank you. Good to be with you too.